What do we do to maximize Q4 sales? How do we take advantage of what's about to happen? I know from my own business, it's like maybe the week before, a few days before Thanksgiving, straight through the end of the year, a few days after, I just did massive amounts of business, and I kicked myself in the ass afterwards, said, God, I should have advertised more, prepared more. What is the best way for someone in, my position, anyone listening, to set themselves up now for a massive end of year bonanza?
So there's a few things that are happening right now. One, ad costs are going to go through the roof in Q4. Reason being is not just because of COVID, because of e-commerce, right? Everything's moving online. So Black Friday is going to be bigger. Cyber Monday is going to be bigger. Amazon Prime Day, right? Bigger than the year before. But on top of that, this is an election year. So the amount of money that you're seeing Trump and Biden spend on ads is also causing the cost to go up. Now, eventually, Facebook and some of the platforms have came out and said that they're not going to allow future political ads. But for this year, you're pretty much screwed. The costs are going to go up. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do ads, but what you should do is add in an upsell and add in a downsell on your checkout. It's literally the easiest things to do. If you're going to do a third thing, add a checkout bump, because that'll increase your average order value. And then from there, spend more money on ads. The second thing I would do is I would go find all the complementary people in your space. So you do sales related stuff, right? There's probably other people who teach sales, but not necessarily the same sales stuff that you teach.
And of course, not as good.
There you go. But different angle of sales, right? There's many different things you can fine tune in sales, such as how to fine tune your processes or software, sales skills, and the list can go on and on. You can partner with some of those people and have them promote you, and then you promote them. We're seeing that as huge wins. Like, think of it this way. If you can't add an upsell or a downsell or a checker because you don't have one, go find someone else in your space that you respect, have them take their product and do an upsell with them or a downsell with them, right? And vice versa.
Makes sense. Okay, I like that. This guy definitely got some potential there. Okay, keep going.
Then the other thing I would do is I would just start creating mass quantities of content. Okay, so do keyword research. And here's what I mean by this. Everyone always ends up spending money on ads. It's why Google and Facebook are so huge. That's a given. But Microsoft ended up releasing a report where that broke down what marketing skill sets people should focus their time and energy on if they want to be effective marketers in the future. The number one tactic was SEO. One of the least invested aspects in marketing is SEO. So you can do keyword research. There's tons of free tools out there. Pick any one you want and type in keywords related to your space. When you type in keywords related to your space, you'll see a laundry list of keywords that are also relevant that you can just go and start creating content around. And if you just write tons and tons of blog content that's really good about those topics, okay, not mediocre, but just really, really good, you're not going to get that much traffic for end of Q4. You're not going to get that much traffic even middle of next year. But by the end of next year, you're going to start seeing that content generate a lot of traffic. From there, drive those people into a webinar. And then from a webinar, pitch whatever products, services you're offering to offer. Even you can do it for e-commerce, or you can just link within your blog content to the product you're selling you, let's say if it's e-commerce.
So let's slow down for a second here, because that's an interesting perspective. I think that most people nowadays overlook this whole idea of organic traffic, SEO, right? So I think for me, I've been fortunate because I have a brand. So I get a lot of organic traffic where people will either maybe, see something about me or read or watch the movie and then come. But what about the person that doesn't have that? How do you, the real methodology for getting yourself, and you're talking about getting ranked on the first page of Google. Is that really what you're talking about here?
Yep.
Okay, right. So what is it really about? The fact that most people spend their days making video content, but video content isn't what gets you ranked high because it's not they can't crawl it. So you're saying turn it into a blog where the computers can actually read it. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. Now they are getting better at crawling video content, but it doesn't rank that well. Like anytime you do a Google search, almost all the results are text-based. And if you don't have a brand, see, when I started off, I didn't have a brand, and my brand's nowhere near the size of yours. I get right now 10 million visits to my website each month without ads. And then what happened was all those visitors through SEO ended up helping to build my brand. So now on any given month, I get around 180,000 visits just from Google of people typing in my name, Neil Patel, and clicking on over to my website. But it first started off where I was getting 0 people looking for my name. I was creating all this content. And when you're creating all this content, eventually you start getting traffic, and then people start subscribing, and it eventually builds your brand.
All right, so support for the Wolf's Den is brought to you by MANSCAPED, one of my favorite companies. Listen, MANSCAPED is the premier world famous below the waist grooming expert for the world. This is like it. It's like the main player in the men's grooming game. They have products available all over Europe, Canada, UK, Australia, and of course, right here in the good US of A. Now listen, guys, I know a lot of you don't like to talk about this sort of stuff here, this sort of shit, right? But me, I talk about anything. That's why I'm the wolf, right? You gotta stay groomed. I'm talking about your ears. You don't want the enchanted forest coming out of your ears. You don't want like freaking nose hairs coming out, which is the grossest thing ever. And also the private parts down here, right? And you know what I'm talking about, guys. No one wants to see the freaking wild enchanted jungle down there, okay? You send women running for the hills like that. Trust me, I know. Not firsthand, but I've heard it, okay? Manscaped's gonna give you the tools that you need to keep that shit on the wraps, to keep it under control. Manscaped is truly absolute state of the art when it comes to keeping your ball hairs in check. All right? You know what they have? I love the names of their products. They call it the Lawnmower 3.0, by the way. It's an electric trimmer that uses a ceramic blade to make sure no accidents happen. You don't want to cut them family jewels off, right? You want to cut the balls off with the hairs. You want to keep the balls and lose the hairs, right? Bottom line, the only thing that's going to get cut on your balls are your hairs on your balls. That's it. The family jewels are safe. And of course, for those embarrassing nostril hairs, those nose hairs, I always thought, by the way, those nose hairs, you pick one out, you'll like die of a hemorrhage. It's the blood will come out, right? Well, guess what? They have something called the Weed Whacker electric trimmer. Kills those nose hairs. I mean, what's your worst nightmare? You're in a meeting, you're trying to sound serious, and people are looking at you and they're like analyzing your body language, your facial expressions. But what they're really looking at is this freaking gigantic hair sticking out of your nose. They're saying, what is wrong with the person that walks around with a giant hair sticking out of their nostril? Not the fact they haven't gotten laid in 5 years, you know that for sure, but what kind of person of power? Does an expert in their field really have giant hair sticking out of their nose? I don't think so, all right? It's an unsightly, gross, embarrassing thing. Again, with Manscaped's products, their Weed Whacker, that will never happen again. Specially designed to keep those nose hairs and the dreaded ears hair. That's like when you see a guy with giant ears. And by the way, you just know that like as you get older, that shit just keeps growing. Your ears and your nose keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And the hair stops growing when you want it to grow and starts growing in abundance when you don't want it to grow, okay? So this stuff takes care of that. Manscaped is your company for this. Now, the best part right now, the Wolf's Den listeners, all of you, you're going to get 20% off plus free shipping on all of Manscaped's products. I'm telling you, this is the time to buy. Claim your discount right away. Get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com/wolf. Again, that's 20% off. Free shipping at manscaped.com/wolf. Your balls will thank you, as will your earlobes, your inner ear, and your nose.